Before the world truly knew who he was, Freddie Mercury was already breaking every rule in music. He wasn't just a singer, he was a revolution. In an era where rock music was ruled by hyper-masculine frontmen, he walked in with outrageous outfits, a 4-octave vocal range, and an unapologetic attitude. But his impact wasn't just about his look or his voice. It was about how he changed music itself. And what's more remarkable is that he did it all while hiding a major part of his identity from the world. This is the story of how one man defied expectations, challenged norms, and left a legacy that shaped generations of artists. This is Freddie Mercury's untold story. Born Farrokh Bulsara in Zanzibar, Freddie Mercury didn't start off with the dream of being a global superstar. His childhood was far from glamorous. Raised in India before moving to England at the age of 18, Freddie was first exposed to Western rock music while in boarding school. Here, he began to shape the artist he would later become, blending his passion for traditional Indian music with Western rock influences. His early years were quiet compared to the noise he would soon make in the music world, but they were crucial in the development of his bold persona. Freddie's move to England in the 60s wasn't just a geographic shift, it was a cultural awakening. In a city full of artists, musicians, and innovators, Freddie found his voice. But even in the midst of all this creativity, he stood out. He wasn't like the other musicians. He was different, and he wore that difference like a crown. In 1970, after joining forces with guitarist Brian May, drummer Roger Taylor, and bassist John Deacon, Queen was born. From day one, Freddie's vision for the band was clear. They were going to be bigger than anything rock had ever seen. But it wasn't just about being big, it was about doing things no one had ever done before. Queen wasn't just another rock band, they were pioneers. Blending genres, creating sounds, and mixing musical influences in ways that hadn't been done before. But it was Freddie's boldness, his vision, and his ambition that would push the band to legendary status. Queen's early music wasn't just good, it was extraordinary, but nothing could have prepared the world for Bohemian Rhapsody. When Freddie first wrote this 6-minute masterpiece, record labels didn't know what to make of it. It wasn't a traditional single. It didn't follow the structure of a hit song. It was opera, rock, and ballad all rolled into one, and it was a gamble. Yet, Freddie was determined to get it out there. He fought against the industry's expectations, demanding radio stations play it, even if they didn't understand it. And when it hit the airwaves, it took the world by storm. Bohemian Rhapsody was a turning point not just for Queen, but for music itself. The song broke records, it shattered conventions, and it catapulted Freddie and Queen into superstardom. But what made this success even more special was Freddie's unapologetic uniqueness. He wasn't afraid to stand out. His over-the-top performances, his powerful voice, and his style, all of it screamed confidence. He wasn't just performing a song, he was creating an experience, and the world couldn't get enough of it. But there was a side to Freddie that most didn't see. While the world marveled at his music, his charisma, and his public persona, Freddie kept one part of himself hidden: his sexuality. In a time when being openly gay could destroy a career, Freddie chose not to label himself. Instead, he expressed his identity through his music, his fashion, and his performances. He let his art speak for him. And in doing so, he broke down barriers that no one even realized needed breaking. At a time when homophobia ran rampant in both the music industry and society, Freddie Mercury was living proof that being yourself could change the world. He didn't follow the script, he didn't play by the rules, and in doing so, he paved the way for countless artists to embrace their true selves. But Freddie's battles weren't just in the spotlight. In the early 80s, Queen reached an unprecedented level of fame. They headlined massive festivals, recorded chart-topping albums, and revolutionized live performances. But Freddie was still fighting an inner battle that many didn't know about. He was becoming a public figure in a time when the AIDS epidemic was spreading. and yet Freddie didn't publicly discuss his condition for years. Instead, he continued to work, to perform, and to record, all while secretly battling the disease. In fact, many believe his performances in the 80s, particularly during Queen's legendary 1985 Live Aid performance, were some of the best of his career. Live Aid, 72,000 people at Wembley Stadium, millions watching around the world. While most bands played their typical set, Freddie and Queen delivered a performance for the ages. The energy in that stadium, the connection between Freddie and the audience, it was electric. In just 20 minutes, Freddie Mercury proved why he was the greatest frontman in rock history. The performance would go down in history as one of the greatest of all time, and even years later, artists like Elton John and Dave Grohl would cite it as the greatest live show they had ever seen. But as the 80s progressed, Freddie's health deteriorated. His battle with AIDS had become harder to hide, and while he continued to record some of Queen's best work, he was doing so in secret. Yet, even as his health failed, he was determined to leave a legacy. His final albums with Queen, Innuendo, and Made in Heaven were filled with powerful, emotional songs, many of which were influenced by his struggle with the disease. It wasn't until the fall of 1991 that the world learned the truth. Freddie Mercury had passed away from complications related to AIDS. The world mourned the loss of a legend, a trailblazer, and a man who had changed the face of music forever. But Freddie's legacy didn't end with his passing. Decades later, his music is still as relevant as ever. Queen's songs are timeless. Freddie's voice is unforgettable. His impact on music, fashion, and culture is immeasurable. He broke barriers for LGBTQ+ artists. He challenged the norms of rock and roll, and he left an indelible mark on the music industry. Freddie Mercury proved that music had no boundaries. That being different wasn't just okay, it was powerful. He wasn't just a musician, he was a cultural force, a symbol of defiance, and an inspiration to countless artists who came after him. His influence is still felt today, whether it's in the form of Adam Lambert's performances with Queen or in the many artists who openly embrace their identity, thanks to Freddie's bravery. Freddie Mercury wasn't just a rock star. He was a force of nature, a legend, a man who lived unapologetically and left a mark on the world that will never be erased. And as long as people listen to music, as long as people dare to be different, Freddie Mercury will live forever.